For me, that place was a tiny, overlooked town nestled in the mountains. A place I stumbled upon by pure accident, and it completely changed the person I am today. I used to be a city person, through and through. Disconnected from myself, from nature, from what really matters. I was living, but I wasn't truly alive. My breaking point came after a particularly brutal project at work. I was burned out, exhausted, and felt like a ghost in my own life. On a whim, I just got in my car and started driving. I had no destination, no plan. I just needed to escape the noise. After hours on the road, I saw a sign for a small town I'd never heard of. Something pulled me to take that exit. The moment I drove into town, it was like the world switched to a different frequency. The air was crisp and smelled of pine and damp earth. The relentless city noise was replaced by the sound of a rustling breeze and distant birdsong. It was a town of old brick buildings, flower boxes spilling over with color, and people who actually looked up and smiled as I drove by. It felt real. I found a small inn to stay in for a few nights. Those few nights turned into a week, and that week turned into a month. I spent my days hiking on trails that seemed to stretch into the sky. I started talking to the locals. I met a baker who woke up at 3 a.m. every day, not because he had to, but because he loved the quiet solitude of the morning and the smell of fresh bread. I met an artist who painted landscapes not for galleries, but to capture the fleeting beauty of a sunset for herself. They weren't chasing fame or fortune, they were chasing moments. They were living with intention. I realized my life had been about consumption, consuming experiences, consuming products, consuming content. Here, life was about creation and connection. I started writing again, something I hadn't done for years. I filled journals with thoughts and observations, not for a blog or an audience, but just for me. I started cooking with fresh ingredients from the local farmer's market, tasting the difference in a tomato grown in actual soil under the actual sun. I began to see myself differently. Stripped of my job title, my fancy apartment, and my busy schedule, who was I? I discovered I was someone who loved the quiet. I was someone who felt more wonder looking at a mountain than at a skyscraper. I was someone who found more joy in a simple conversation with a stranger than in a crowded networking event. The city had taught me to be tough, competitive, and cynical. This town was teaching me to be gentle, present, and open. It wasn't some magical, overnight transformation. It was a slow, gradual peeling away of layers. There were days I felt lonely and questioned what I was doing. It might not be a mountain town. It could be a seaside village, a bustling foreign city, or even a quiet corner of your own neighborhood. The location isn't the point. The point is finding a place that allows you to hear your own voice again. I did eventually leave that town, but I didn't go back to my old life. I couldn't. The person who left was not the same person who had arrived. I moved to a smaller city closer to nature. I changed my career to something more aligned with my values. I prioritized my well-being over my to-do list. I still love the energy of a city, but now I know how to carry the mountain's peace within me, no matter where I am. That town was the catalyst. It was the reset button I didn't even know I was desperately searching for. It changed my perspective, my priorities, my very definition of a successful life. It changed who I am. I share this story not to tell you to abandon your life and run for the hills unless that's what your soul is calling for. I share this to encourage you to find your place. Find that spot on the map or in your heart that quiets the noise and lets you be unapologetically, authentically you. Maybe you've already found it. If so, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. What place changed you? Thank you so much for listening to my story. If this resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more thoughts on finding our way. Until next time, be kind to yourself.